Hi, welcome to Module 5. So in this module, we're going to start working on your draft reports. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about what happened in Module 4. So in Module 4, you can think Module 4 is kind of being the brainstorming session. You were given a pretty big topic, and from that, you had to choose a research question. And hopefully what you saw was you may have had some really great ideas for research questions, but you had to limit those research questions based on the data that you had available to you, which is the BRFSS. So in other words, if that data set didn't have variables that would help you answer that research question, you would need to change it. And also you went through and found some domain knowledge. So again, you think of this as like the brainstorming. You've gathered a lot of information, and now what we're going to do is take all that information, you're going to put it with your group members' information, and now we're going to put it all together and hopefully start making these nice cohesive reports. So one of my goals for this course is to help you simulate a little bit what it's like in the workforce when you actually have to create one of these reports. So my guess is probably in your previous classes, whenever you had to write a report, it was probably very structured. It was probably, most people had the same topic, or even if you had different topics, it was very clear cut. You had to have a certain amount of information. It had to flow a certain way, very structured, and you knew exactly what you had to put in there. This report isn't going to be like that. And the reason for that is if you were in the workforce and you're doing data analysis, prior to doing the analysis, you're not going to be exactly sure what's going to go into the report. You're going to have to do some exploratory things, look at some things, and then make decisions about what you're going to include. This can be a very uncomfortable process. Most people, if we're setting out to do something, we want to know exactly what it is we're going to be doing and exactly how things need to be formatted. This isn't going to be like that. It's going to be a little uncomfortable at times, but this is what it would be like in the real world if you were writing one of these reports. So keeping that in mind, one of my other goals was I wanted to give you all some freedom also about what to include. So you're going to have some creative freedom here, and you're going to be able to include the information that you feel is relevant to your research question. So even though everyone in the class has the topic of preventative health care, but for different dates, I anticipate each of these reports to be drastically different from one another in terms of the content that's included. So you might be asking, well, how am I going to be graded on this if I don't have a strict rubric and know exactly what information needs to be included? So I wanted to take a moment and talk a little bit about my expectations for the reports and what it is that I'm looking for. One of the biggest things that I'm going to be looking for in these reports is clarity and for them to be visually appealing. So if you go back and look at some of those EPI reports that we've looked at in the past, you'll notice things like the cover sheet. It's eye-catching, it makes you want to read it, it's not just this drab report cover. So the first thing you're going to do for this draft report is to create that cover sheet. And when you look on Canvas, you'll see there are certain requirements that I want included in the cover sheet, but I want you to be creative with these. I want this to be a visually appealing piece that people will want to pick up and read this report because the report looks nice. And things like, I want to have a creative title. I don't just want to see preventive healthcare in Kentucky. Give me something that sparks a little bit more, that makes somebody want to read this and pick it up and learn about the topic. So that'll be for the report cover. Now, you're also going to work on the introduction this week, and I want to see some of the same things. Do you want it to be visually appealing? So the formatting that you use there, I want it to match with the cover sheet. So again, go and look at the previous EPI reports that we've looked at and notice that some colors that they use even in the body of the text, go back and match that cover sheet. So in other words, there's this nice cohesive look throughout the report, because eventually we're going to tie all of these pieces of these draft reports together. I'm looking clarity. So as you write, I want nice, clear writing that keeps the audience in mind. This should not be overly technical. If your writing is so technical that, it's hard for someone to follow, that is not what we want. We want plain language, very easy for someone to follow, pick up this, understand, because the goal of these reports is for people to be able to read and make policy decisions. So we don't want something that's difficult to read. So again, go back and look at some of those reports. Notice the language that they use and how clear and nice everything flows in that language. And then of course, I'm also looking for content. And so in the guidelines that you'll see for the report, you'll notice I'm asking for some specific pieces of content, but how I've asked it is broad enough so that you can can apply it to your own individual topics or research questions that your group has chosen. So in terms of choosing, or focusing, I should say, your topic for your reports, when you meet with your group members, what I encourage you to do is talk about the research questions that all of you chose and decide, okay, this is where we're going to focus. Maybe you'll look at them and there's a clear one that you think, that's a good one to focus on. It's not so broad that, we could spend 100 pages writing about. You don't want that. You want it fairly focused, but you don't want it so focused that there's not really much that you can say. So you're looking for that nice middle ground. Also, you're not restricted. So maybe once you get with your group members, you make a combination of all your research questions. That is also perfectly fine. You do not have to use exactly what you had in Module 4. Because again, think of Module 4 as being that initial brainstorming session where you're just gathering information together. So again, as I'm looking at these grades, I'm going to be looking for, content, clarity, and I'm looking at things that are visually appealing. So at any point during this week, if you have questions or you're unsure, please, feel free to ask me. I'm happy to glance through it, look at it, and give you some feedback. I won't pre-grade it per se, but I'm happy to look at it and say, hey, I think you're on the right track here, or to make suggestions to help you along. So please ask any questions that you have, and I look forward to seeing what you all produce this week.